Now, what's new now and next to start your day? You're watching WSAV Coastal Sunrise at 4:30.
And now at 4:30, coming up on Coastal Sunrise.
A shooting during a prayer service leaves 9 dead in Charleston.
And a good morning. We have a heat advisory in effect again today for the Coastal Empire and Low Country. High temperatures will reach into the upper 90s and near 100 out there. And take a look at this. Heat indices from 107 to 114. I'll have a look at that full weather forecast for you coming up.
All right, thanks a lot, Lee. It's Thursday morning, June 18th. Good morning, everyone. I'm Kim Gusby.
And good morning, everyone. I'm Dave Cartoon, and thanks for joining us this morning for Coastal Sunrise.
Specialist from the medical university. He cannot confirm or deny if any patients have been brought here. So he is going to be here for the rest of the night, keeping an eye on things. It's relatively.
Well, we begin this morning with breaking coverage that we will continue to follow throughout the morning here on Coastal Sunrise. 9 people killed at a historic black church in Charleston. Prayers and tears there this morning following that mass murder at the Mother Emanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church. Again, 9 people confirmed dead this morning, including South Carolina State Senator Clemente Pinckney in that shooting. He represents Beaufort and Jasper counties. It happened around 9 last night during a prayer meeting. The gunman opened fire there inside the church. Charleston police are searching for a white man in his early 20s. We're told he was wearing a gray sweatshirt and Timberland boots, and a manhunt continues across the city this morning. It is being called a hate crime.
Now, as we said, longtime state senator and pastor of the South Carolina church where 9 were shot and killed, Clemente Pinckney, is among the deceased. Reverend Pinckney received his first appointment to pastor at the age of 18. He was elected to the South Carolina House of Representatives in 1996 and has served as a state senator since his election in 2000. Officials say it is not clear whether he was specifically targeted. South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley has released a statement on the shooting. She said, quote, "Michael, Rena, Nayland, and I are praying for the victims and families touched by tonight's senseless tragedy at Emanuel AME Church. While we do not yet know all of the details, we do know that we'll never understand what motivates anyone to enter one of our places of worship and take the life of another. Please join us in lifting up the victims and their families with our love and prayers," end quote.
The only reason someone could walk into church and shoot people praying is out of hate. The only reason. That it is the most dastardly act that one can possibly imagine. And we will bring that person to justice as soon as possible.
Authorities in Charleston are calling this a hate crime.
It leaves the community near the historic African American church shaken and frightened. That concern for safety has prompted Republican presidential candidate Jeb Bush to cancel all events that he had planned for today in the city of Charleston. A Bush campaign spokeswoman said former Governor Bush's thoughts and prayers are with all of those affected by the tragedy.
All right, good morning. As we take a look at our weather for the Coastal Empire and the Low Country, very warm, very muggy out there as you step out the door. Temperatures all areas in the 70s this morning, and we're talking about another very hot day ahead. We have some serious heat out there. You can see this morning things are nice and quiet. We're mostly clear as you head out the door. Now, this is the forecast. Mostly sunny, very hot, very humid. Heat index values 107 to 114 this afternoon. High temperatures will get into the mid to upper 90s this afternoon, approaching 100 in some communities. More on the 7-day forecast in just a bit.
All right, thanks a lot, Lee. 4:34 right now. Also this morning here in Savannah, police investigate a shooting that sent a man in his 60s to the hospital. It happened in a home on East 39th Street near Hibiscus Avenue around 10 o'clock last night. A Low Country deputy is recovering this morning from a gunshot wound after an altercation. It happened on Westminster Place on Ladies Island. Officials say the deputy had a search warrant for the home where he was shot. The State Law Enforcement Division has been called in to investigate.
Continuing coverage this morning, District Attorney Meg Heap and her attorneys respond to legal action seeking to disqualify her from criminally prosecuting cases in the death of Matthew Ajibade at the Chatham County Jail. Well, Heap has hired 2 private attorneys to represent her and they call the accusations of her conflicts of interest and relationships quote-unquote baseless. Well, a judge will hear arguments over whether she should remain on the case coming up on June the 29th, but not before Heap will bring evidence to a grand jury in the case next week. Well, Will Claiborne, one of the Ajibade family attorneys, called Heap's response to their motion quote-unquote disrespectful and inhumane, to argue that the Ajibade family has no right to question her impartiality. Well, the Savannah-Chatham Public School District will look a little different in the coming years after a decision to implement a waiver school system.
News 3's Ian Margot was at that meeting.
I know our board's been put in a spot, but they're not listening to the people.
Sandra Crew was one of dozens of people who were frustrated by the Savannah-Chatham County School Board's decision to approve a new strategic waiver school system. Crew is a full-time volunteer in the district. Her daughter is a teacher, and she has both grandchildren and great-grandchildren who are students. She says her biggest concern is how it could lead to even more overcrowding of classrooms.
You can't teach when you have 25 children in there and have problem children in there.
Wednesday's decision comes after months of work and is the result of a Georgia Department of Education mandate that says every district must choose one of 3 flexibility options. The first option was converting the district to a charter system, which would require a separate governing body for every single school in the district. The second is the strategic waiver system, the one they chose. This system allows for schools to apply for flexibility in state laws, rules, and policies like class size, but if the schools don't perform well in 3 out of 5 years, they could fall under government control. Crew, like the majority of the public, wanted the third option, a no-waiver system, otherwise known as the status quo or the traditional system. But Superintendent Dr. Thomas Lockamy says that there's nothing traditional about it.
There is no district in the state that is status quo. Everybody had to go to one of those 2 options. Even though they say you got choice, you had a choice, but it was going to cost you megabucks to do so.
In fact, he says the government would have taken $17 million from the district and removed more than 200 teachers if they had picked the no-waiver system. And even Crew admits in the end, they made the choice they had to.
The governor's tied their hands because they need the money, yes, but what, at the expense of our kids? And we're going to have the waivers in order to get the teachers that we need in the schools, to have the class sizes that the kids need.
And that was News 3's Ian Margot reporting. Now, several members of the school district, including Dr. Lockamy, expressed their displeasure with feeling like the state board was backing them into a corner in this decision and forced them basically to ignore the people they serve.
If you want more information about how the waiver system chosen or any of the other 2 options works, head to our website, WSAV.com, and search School Board Options.
Well, the school board also giving a controversial construction company a second chance. Reeves Worrell and its parent company have been awarded a $16 million contract to build Spencer Elementary. The company is being sued by 4 local minority contractors. They accuse the firm of making false promises about minority women business enterprise participation and using their names without their knowledge to win a $20 million contract to build the Hess K-8 school. Reeves Worrell pledged 50% MWBE participation on that project. School district documents report 32% is the actual figure.
From what I can hear, they are not a bad company. It's just that they made some mistakes in the beginning, but they were willing to correct these mistakes, and therefore I can accept that. I believe in giving people another chance.
Meanwhile, the lawsuit against Reeves Worrell is still pending in federal court. 4:38 on this Thursday morning. Straight ahead on Coastal Sunrise, more on a mass murder at a Charleston, South Carolina church.
Plus, climbing temperatures, coming higher electric bills. We're on your side with ways to fix them.
Well, stay with us. We'll be back with more of Coastal Sunrise coming up in just a bit. 4:42 on this Thursday morning is some breaking news to tell you about. Charleston Police Chief Greg Mullen now says the FBI will be involved in the investigation of a shooting during a church prayer meeting. 9 people are dead, including State Senator and Pastor Clemente Pinckney. Authorities say this is a hate crime, but they don't know if Pinckney was a target. We'll have more on this developing story for you coming up at 4:49.
Well, as we take a look at this weather pattern, we just can't catch a break, can we? Take a look at this. 99 degrees your forecast high temperature for today. Normal would be 90, so 9 degrees above normal, just a couple of degrees shy of the record for the day, which is 102 degrees. Another day, another heat advisory, so to speak. Heat index values this afternoon from 107 to 114. Please avoid those prolonged outdoor activities this afternoon. Make sure you take lots of breaks if you're going to be out of doors. This is the forecast. Mostly sunny to sunny skies in the morning. Hour by hour, we see 84 degrees at 9 a.m., 95 for noon, and as we go into the afternoon, maybe an isolated shower, thunderstorm inland of the coast mid to late afternoon to cool you down, and you can see that 99-degree reading from 2, 3, and 4 o'clock into the afternoon. So the upper level high pressure holds along the southeast coast today. Again, very hot from the Carolinas down into Georgia, Florida. Now, one thing to note, tomorrow into Saturday, maybe a couple of degrees lower, probably about 97. Then big time heat comes in for Sunday through next week. I expect to see triple digits for most areas come Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So look for temperatures to really stay unseasonably and dangerously hot for the next 7 days. 76 this morning, Savannah, 79 Hilton Head Island, 78 in Beaufort. Everybody in the 70s this morning. Here are your forecast highs. Take a deep breath and take this in. 102 today in Hampton, 101 in Estill, 98 in Beaufort, low 90s Hilton Head Island, southeast Georgia. We're 101 today up at the borough as well, Millen and towards Sylvania, 99 Savannah, and about 92 on the beaches of Tybee. So the weather setup shows dry conditions, mostly sunny skies this morning. Here's your 1:30 map this afternoon. Again, a couple of isolated showers and thunderstorms possible. Maybe a few folks will get a cooling shower storm this afternoon into this evening, but most areas, particularly on the coast, will remain dry tonight. And tomorrow, a little bit better chance for showers and thunderstorms as that ridge of high pressure weakens. That is some good news. Here's a look at the detailed forecast for you. 99 today, about 100 to 101 well inland. We're in the low 90s on the coast. Mostly sunny skies with a small chance for a shower storm this afternoon. 76 tonight, isolated thunderstorms ending, then warm and muggy. And guys, this is a rough 7-day forecast. 97 tomorrow and Saturday. That's the best I can do for you. And then here's the problem. 99 for Father's Day, and then 100 to 101 as we go into early and mid next week. Heat index values from 110, maybe as high as 115, as a little piece of some upper level high pressure builds in from the west. And this is really just going to crank the heat out.
Yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem, especially for the elderly and the young who may be outside playing on the parks. Thanks a lot, Lee. 4:45, it's Thursday morning, and the hot weather also brings health concerns, especially for those without air conditioning. Metro police officers are checking on Savannah neighbors this week to make sure that they are safe. If you know of someone that needs to be checked on, call 912-652-6500. Again, that number, 912-652-6500.
Well, the high temperatures this week will mean some high electric bills for most of us next month. If you want to keep track of how much energy you're using and how it's affecting your bill, Georgia Power does have a tool to help you. My Power Usage is an available app, so to speak, on through your online account, which tracks your energy uses day to day. There you can see the bar chart going right across the screen. The program even alerts you when you reach a level of cost you have set, so you have the option to cut back usage to try to control your bill. You can also limit your surprises that way. It came online about a year ago, and the company is trying to spread the word.
So that they know what their bill is going to be and can make adjustments through the month if needed.
Well, those adjustments can include more than just turning up or down your thermostat. It could include using fans and keeping blinds pulled during the heat so that you use less energy. 4:47 now. As temperatures continue to rise, we're giving you advice on how to keep cool during the hot days.
While many enjoy being outside, the oppressive heat can be extremely dangerous for your pet. Kara Pritchard explains.
This year it has started way early. We don't ever see it start this early. We're generally dealing with stuff at the end of July into August.
Warm temperatures and high humidity are tough on pets. In less than 12 hours, a dog can have a heat stroke.
And this is one that is a really good example of why you don't want your dogs out in the heat and all.
Gunner came to Dr. Spence with a 105 body temperature.
He went straight into the ICU care ward and put on IV fluids, ice fluids.
It's taken him 4 days, but he's making a turnaround. Unlike humans, dogs and cats eliminate heat by panting. And when panting isn't enough, their body temperature rises.
The only place they can cool themselves is on their tongue and on their ears.
And if it's not corrected quickly, it can be fatal.
Dr. Spence says that older dogs here like Cheyenne, or dogs that are compromised with heart disease or kidney disease, are at a high risk for heat strokes. He says they can get too hot being outside for 15 minutes to 30 minutes.
If you notice your dog or cat is overheated,
get them in an ice bath. The best thing to do is take them directly to your veterinarian. We're set up here to take care of things like this.
One family is mourning the loss of their boxer Minnie after she was left outside for too long.
Everybody needs to know that when it's on the heat index is that high, to get your dog in the house, in the shade, and make sure they have plenty of water, a cool spot to be. Something so that you don't have to lose them like I did mine.
My name is Reverend Clemente Pinckney.
4:49 now, and you're looking at video from YouTube of Reverend Clemente Pinckney from 2 years ago. More on that mass murder in Charleston, Carolina this morning. This is the state senator and reverend from Jasper County inside his church. He is one of the 9 people confirmed dead this morning. Charleston police say when they arrived at the church that you see in this video, Mother Emanuel AME Church, 8 people were dead, 2 people were taken to the hospital, and one of those people transported died on arrival. Well, Reverend Pinckney received his first appointment to pastor at the age of 18. He was elected to the South Carolina House of Representatives in 1996 and has served as the state senator for not only parts of Charleston, but also Beaufort, Jasper, and Hampton counties since his election back in 2000. Some of the bills he was instrumental this session include the recently passed and signed body camera bill that Governor Haley signed into law right there in North Charleston just last week. Officials say it is not clear yet if he was specifically targeted in this mass murder last night inside that church in Charleston. It is 4:50 now. Straight ahead on Coastal Sunrise, we'll have more on that mass shooting. We'll have the latest in the search for the suspect.
And you're watching Coastal Sunrise from WSAV News 3.
WSAV News 3 breaking coverage continues in the search for a suspect in last night's deadly mass shooting at a historic black church in Charleston. 9 people confirmed dead now, including South Carolina State Senator Clemente Pinckney, who represents parts of Beaufort, Jasper, and Hampton counties. It happened last night around 9 during a prayer meeting there. The gunman came into the church, opened fire. Charleston police are now searching for a white man in his early 20s. We're told he was wearing a gray sweatshirt and Timberland boots. The act is being called a hate crime.
The only reason someone could walk into church and shoot people praying is out of hate. The only reason. That it is the most dastardly act that one can possibly imagine. And we will bring that person to justice as soon as possible.
And South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley has released a statement on the shooting. She said, quote, "Michael, Rena, Nayland, and I are praying for the victims and families touched by tonight's senseless tragedy at Emanuel AME Church. While we do not yet know all of the details, we do know that we'll never understand what motivates anyone to enter one of our places of worship and take the life of another. Please join us in lifting up the victims and their families with our love and prayers." End quote.
Well, that concern for safety has prompted Republican presidential candidate Jeb Bush to cancel all events planned today in Charleston. He was supposed to be there for a day of campaigning, but a Bush campaign spokeswoman said the former governor has his thoughts and prayers with all of those affected by that tragedy.
Well, as we take a quick peek at your weather, other than an isolated shower thunderstorm this afternoon to cool you down, most areas are going to be pretty dry for today. Now we take a look at 99 as your high today, so this prolonged heat wave will continue, and this thing's just going to keep going and going probably for the next 7 days. Overall forecast includes high temperatures reaching 99 on average, or 101 well inland, but that doesn't take into effect the heat index values of 107 to 114 this afternoon. Now this is the 7-day weather forecast. Notice we're 97 tomorrow and Saturday, back up to 99 for Father's Day, and then a significant crank up in some of those temperatures may ensue next week. Matter of fact, I'm going 100 degrees on Monday, 101 on Tuesday and Wednesday. Some of the guidance is going anywhere from 102 to 103, so it's important to point out that it is going to get hotter before we get a little break from all of this heat, and that may not come until probably late next week, maybe into the upcoming weekend when we get back into the mid-90s.
All right, it is 4:56 now. We continue to monitor breaking news out of Charleston. We will have the latest feeds up for you there. There is one from Meeting Street in downtown Charleston.
A state senator from Jasper County is one of 9 people confirmed dead this morning. We'll have the latest coming up at 5.
This is Coastal Sunrise from WSAV News 3. More breaking news coverage after this. Now on Coastal Sunrise at 5, a Bible study in Charleston leads to mass murder. We continue our breaking news coverage this morning of the massacre at Mother Emanuel Church in Charleston.
My name is
And the South Carolina State Senator and pastor at the church is among the dead. We remember the life and legacy of Clemente Pinckney.
4:59 is your time on this Thursday morning as we take a look at our weather out there. Temperatures low to mid 70s across the inland communities. Very warm and muggy along the coast for the mid to upper 70s. Skies are mostly clear out there at this hour. This is a look at your very hot, very humid weather forecast for the day ahead. Mostly sunny skies, only a very slight chance for a shower thunderstorm this afternoon inland of the coast. Look at the temperature, 95 degrees at noon, 99 this afternoon, and the heat index values very miserable. Let's just say 107 to 114 this afternoon, so it's going to be very tough to be out of doors. Time saver traffic, everything looks good across the metro this morning. Veterans Parkway, Truman's Parkway, 204 looking fine this morning. More details on the extended in just a little bit.
All right, thanks a lot, Lee. And now here's a look at your radar hotspot from Savannah-Chatham Metro Police. The road to watch this morning is Waters Avenue.
Live, on air, and online, this is WSAV Coastal Sunrise at 5.
It's Thursday, June 18th. Good morning, everyone. I'm Kim Gusby.
And I'm Dave Cartoon, and thanks for joining us this morning for Coastal Sunrise. Breaking news coverage continues this morning at 5 of that mass shooting in Charleston. We have been monitoring live pictures from downtown. Martin Staunton is on the way to the scene, and of course we're monitoring our sister station WCBD in Charleston.
Now officials have confirmed overnight that 9 people were killed at Emanuel AME Church in downtown Charleston. Charleston Police Chief Greg Mullen says a Bible study class was going on at the church at the time of the shooting just after 9 p.m. Officials say there were survivors but would not elaborate or say how many people were at that Bible study. The shooter, described as a white male in his early 20s with a slender build and sandy blonde hair, was wearing a gray sweatshirt, blue jeans, and boots.
As more information comes in, officials so far have not named any of the 9 people who were killed, but it has been confirmed, of course, that South Carolina State Senator Clemente Pinckney, who represents parts of Beaufort, Hampton, and Jasper counties in our area, and was also a pastor at Mother Emanuel Church, was among those 9 people killed.
With the story still developing, Charleston Mayor Joseph Riley and Police Chief Greg Mullen are expected to hold their next news conference at 7 o'clock this morning. Dan Shinneman has the latest from Charleston.
Police say a gunman walked into a prayer meeting at the Emanuel AME Church in downtown Charleston and opened fire. When officers arrived, they saw the victims. We were able to determine that there were 8 deceased individuals inside of the church. 2 individuals were transported to MUSC. One of them has died. So at this point, we have 9 victims in this heinous crime that has been committed. NBC News has learned that South Carolina State Senator Clementa Pinckney was among the dead. There were survivors, but police did not say how many. Police said the suspect is a white male in his early 20s with sandy blonde hair. Authorities also confirmed that the FBI is involved in the investigation. I do believe this was a hate crime. The city's mayor called for unity.
One hateful person that did these dastardly deeds, one hateful person. So all of the rest of us need to work to help find this person, give the police any leads you might find, and then give love and support.
And hear from the voice of the Lord.
While police continue to search for the gunman, many community members huddled together in prayer. Dan Shenneman, NBC News.
Well, overnight there, as you saw, Charleston Mayor Riley and Police Chief Greg Mullen addressed reporters, expressed their shock, disbelief, and asked the community to come together and remember victims. Police Chief Mullen also told reporters that Charleston Police Department is investigating the mass shooting as a hate crime.
Do you believe this was a hate crime?
I do believe this was a hate crime.
The only reason someone could walk into church and shoot people praying is out of hate. The only reason. That it is the most dastardly act that one can possibly imagine.
South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley has released a statement on the shooting. She said, quote, "Michael, Rena, Nayland, and I are praying for the victims and families touched by tonight's senseless tragedy at Emmanuel AME Church. While we do not yet know all of the details, we do know that we'll never understand what motivates anyone to enter one of our places of worship and take the life of another. Please join us in lifting up the victims and their families with our love and prayers." End quote.
Well, Republican presidential candidate Jeb Bush had been scheduled for several campaign events in Charleston today. The campaign has canceled all of those events. A Bush campaign spokeswoman says the decision was made after word spread of that deadly church shooting last night. The spokeswoman said Governor Bush's thoughts and prayers are with all those affected by the tragedy.
An outpouring of tears in Charleston this morning following that mass shooting at Emmanuel AME Church. Members of the community gathered near the scene to pray for those killed. During an overnight news conference, an official representing the church told reporters that a remembrance will be held today to mourn the victims whose lives were lost last night.
And as we've been mentioning throughout the morning, among those killed and confirmed by NBC News, former South Carolina State Senator and Mother Emanuel pastor Clementa Pinckney. He's a native of, was born in Beaufort, a native of Jasper County. He was the sponsor of several bills throughout his tenure, including a co-sponsor of the body camera bill that was just signed into law by Governor Nikki Haley last week. He also co-sponsored the creation of a study committee on racial profiling this year in the wake of the shooting of Walter Scott in North Charleston. That bill is still in committee. He's also been a big supporter of a minimum wage bill in the state, a minimum wage increase in the state of South Carolina.
Where you are is a very special place in Charleston. And it's a very special place because this church and this site, this area, has been tied to the history and life of African Americans since about the early 1800s.
Well, there you saw video from just 2 years ago of the state senator, the Reverend, pastoring at his church at a civil rights event in October of 2013. There you can see the inside of the church where the massacre happened, and hear from one of the victims there who has been lost this morning.
Well, Low Country reporter Brittany Shane got reaction from those who were close to Clementa Pinckney just hours after they heard the news of his death.
And she joins us now live from our Hampton Lake newsroom in Bluffton with more. Good morning, Brittany.
Good morning, Dave. Good morning, Kim. I have to tell you, the people out there are still in shock this morning, and they tell me Senator Pinckney was a pillar in their community, involved in everything from politics to religion to supporting organizations like the Boys and Girls Club. And they say this is a devastating loss to their community.
Still kind of hard to even believe at this point?
You know, I'm hurt, very hurt, that we have to deal with these kind of issues such as hate crimes in 2015.
As the Jasper County community awakens to the news that Senator Clemente Pinckney was among those killed in the Charleston shooting, the emotions begin to pour out.
He's been the leader, the pillar in this community for years. You know, we all call on him. We all try and get him to be a part of whatever we're doing, and he's just been a person that's spread himself all over this community.
For Charles Mitchell, he's been a friend and an inspiration.
You know, he inspired me. Every time he came in contact with me, he'd always tell me, you know, keep doing what you're doing. You know, everything's going to work out. You know, and I believe that.
For Pastor Jerome Lewis, he's trying to find a way to explain this tragedy to his congregation. But he says we just have to have faith.
When something like this happens, it's just unexplainable.
And Mitchell says he doesn't know how his community begins to heal.
It's going to be a long, long process, and it's going to be even longer until this individual is caught who committed this crime.
Obviously, the grieving process is just beginning for this community, and it will be a long road to recovery. Now, as we mentioned earlier, Senator Pinckney was part of some major legislation this past session, including the police body camera bill that Governor Haley just signed into law. From the Hampton Lake Newsroom in Bluffton, Brittany Shane, News 3.
Thanks a lot, Brittany. 8 minutes after 5 o'clock right now. In other news this morning, Savannah Chatham Metro Police are investigating a shooting at a home on East 39th Street near Hibiscus Avenue. Officials say the victim is a man in his 60s. He was transported to the hospital for treatment of what appears to be non-life-threatening injuries. We'll update you as more information becomes available.
A Low Country deputy is recovering from a gunshot wound after an altercation. It happened on Westminster Place on Ladies Island, and officials say the deputy had a search warrant for the home where he was shot. The State Law Enforcement Division has been called in to investigate that incident. It is 5:09 now this Wednesday morning.
Straight ahead this morning on Coastal Sunrise, we continue our coverage of the mass shooting at Emmanuel AME Church in Charleston.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I got you.
Sorry.
They're going to leave that, Murray's going to leave that shot up now, so we have a dedicated. Good. Okay. Okay. Okay.
People that lost somebody.
How long have you been here at this event since you heard about it?
You've
been here since 10. Have you had anything to drink?
Oh, he was there that day.
Is that store?
Yes.
I'm up to go see what kind of snacks I bought. I bought some.
Yes, I can. I can hear you. She's a born and raised resident of Charleston, South Carolina, and both of her parents are pastors and knew some of the victims.
5:30. I don't know. Yeah, I might use one at 6. I haven't gotten that far.
That's correct, and it's Reese.
Good morning. It's about 5:12 on this Thursday morning. Today will be the 5th day of this